is taking place at Parchin or at a military base somewhere in Iran, would the IAEA have access to that base to make sure that the suspicions are not correct? Help us understand that.
Well, there is a mechanism. I mean, that's what the additional protocol is all about, in order to investigate concerns about undeclared facilities. I mean, what is declared is declared. They have regular access to it. What is undeclared, the additional protocol provides a mechanism and a procedure for access. Our agreement, if reached, provides more clarification about the procedure, which when the agreement is finalized, you will see. It provides a rather clear-cut approach to checking such allegations, substantiating them, and then moving forward with resolving. The additional protocol is there, its mechanisms are there, its procedures are there, and the agreement has more specificity with regard to some of them.
I want to turn to a question of special interest to the Iranian public, which I hope is watching on television as we're talking, and that is the question of sanctions relief. There's been some disagreement about exactly what this framework, these parameters provide in terms of sanctions relief, and I want to ask you to clarify that for everyone. First, when, and under your understanding of the agreement, when will most nuclear-related sanctions be lifted? Maybe you could speak to that first.
Well, as our understanding stands today, and I don't think there is any divergence here, if we have an agreement on the 30th of June, within a few days after that, we will have a resolution in the Security Council under Article 41 of Chapter 7, which will be mandatory for all member states, whether Senator Cotton likes it or not. I couldn't avoid that.
I'm tempted to say you'll pay for that, but you already know that.
I mean, as permanent member of the Security Council, the United States should be in the forefront of pushing for respect for the integrity and authority of the Security Council. It will be, the resolution will endorse the agreement, will terminate all previous resolutions, including all sanctions, will set in place the termination of EU sanctions and the cessation of application of US sanctions. And the reason for change in terminology is that we don't want to get bogged down into the domestic procedures in the United States. I mean, I've studied and lived in the US. I know enough about US Constitution and US procedures. But as a foreign government, I only deal with US government. I do not deal with US Congress. I do not deal with US Supreme Court. That is the responsibility of bringing that into line falls on the shoulders of the President of the United States. And that's the person with whom we are making this agreement. So he will have to stop implementing all the sanctions, economic and financial sanctions, that have been imposed on Iran by executive order, by congressional decision. However he does it, that's his problem. As it will be my problem to implement certain measures. I would not be able, nobody in international law can advance arguments of domestic procedure in order to avoid implementing international obligations. That is correct for Iran, that is correct for the United States. No difference. Sovereign equality is a principle of international law on which we all operate. So this is it. On the day of the agreement, we will have a resolution in the Security Council, or a couple of days later, depending on when we reach the agreement. And that would put into motion certain steps that we will take in order to prepare for the measures that we agree to take. We will have to bring down the number of centrifuges to a certain number in Natanz, to bring down the number of centrifuges to a certain number in Fordo, bring down our stockpile of enriched uranium to a certain weight, do something about our heavy water reactor in Iraq so that we can redesign part of that reactor, not the entire reactor, because it will remain a heavy water reactor, as you know from the agreement. And even the fact sheet, so-called fact sheet by the White House. But it will be redesigned so that it would be more modern, it would be more usable for our purposes, and at the same time it would reduce proliferation concerns, and it would be done in a joint venture process, which would both provide us with better technology and at the same time provide the other side with greater confidence. All of these measures that we need to take, I mean, they will have to start at a point. And that point is where we take those measures, preparation for those measures, and the sanctions will be removed. How this will be done, I mean, we know the concept. The concept is these will be simultaneous. How much time it will take for each of these, how much time it will take for the United States, how much time it will take for Iran, how much time it will take for the EU, these are issues that are being discussed, but they have to have a time frame that would make them simultaneous. It won't take much time for the Security Council to adopt the resolution, and that's when the entire process will get into motion.
The process begins, but just to be clear, is it when it's verified that the steps that are agreed, for example, the conversion at Iraq and the reduction in the number of centrifuges, when it's verified that those steps have been taken, is that the moment at which the sanctions come off?
Well, these are steps that will take only a few weeks to implement. And sanctions are off. The time that they will take effect are the time that our steps have taken effect. Okay. So all sides will take preparatory steps, and we can't get into greater detail about this because I don't want to put anybody into any difficulty. But the time when we adopt the resolution, if we reach an agreement, then that's an important if.
A final buzzword from the parameters agreement that you reached is